When I look at what's happening in the world today, when I follow the news, and not just that, but I investigate what's really happening, what are the causes of what's happening, when I try to be informed and reflect on what's happening in what humanity in different places of the world is going through, there are three places, if you like, of very deep crisis, of very harsh struggle that give me hope, because the fight might be fruitful and humanity might be rediscovering what was lost, or might even be discovering what was never known. There's three places in the world where I think the very deep suffering might be really opening us for something new, might give a new life. Christ has promised that our suffering and our sadness, it will change into joy, and that the suffering of humanity can be described as pangs of birth. Humanity is giving birth, with the help of God, to a new life, to a better life. A life of more truth, of more love, of more light. What are those three moments? First of all, maybe the most spectacular one in Ukraine. Whatever you think about the Russians, the Americans, about Zelensky, whatever your opinions are about what's happening, the Ukrainian people is fighting a just war. And they're winning. Their courage, their readiness to sacrifice, their care for their women and children that they send abroad. The refugees from Ukraine is large majority, it's children and women, which means the men have the hope at home to win, and actually they are winning. For me, that's a great sign of hope. And it will greatly change the situation in my beloved continent, Europe. Another development is in Iran, the protest of the women. And they're taking enormous risks. And they're fighting for the dignity of womanhood. That gives me hope. And sometimes it's very tempting to be desperate about our own Western culture, Western society, civilization. We who are the heirs of Rome, we are also Roman Catholics. It seems everything is lost, but sometimes you see signs something is being prepared. One sign in our part of the world, which I would like to mention, is the interview of Michael Matt with an American policeman, Sergeant James Hipple from New York. It's only one interview, but for me it has a lot of meaning and it gives me hope. Maybe you don't know who is Michael Matt. Michael Matt has a newspaper, the Remnant newspaper. He also has a website, Remnant Television. You'll find the link below. And he has a very interesting interview with this police officer, Sergeant James Hipple. I would really recommend you to watch it. When you look at these struggles, you actually see three struggles that humanity is going through, which can be very fruitful because mankind, man and woman, may rediscover what is real fatherhood. These three moments actually represent three fights, three struggles within humanity to find back the Father. And obviously we will need Christ to win. We need Christ to be victorious, and then he can bring us back to the Father. The three struggles represent actually three fights that are connected with fatherhood. If I start in the West, what strikes me in our Western civilization, everything that sprang forth from the Roman Catholic Church, you see actually that it is as if the Son has killed the Father. The Father has lost his authority because the Son has revolted against him. And the Son no longer accepts any authority from his Father. He doesn't accept the fact that the Father is at least the moral source of life. The fight of the Ukrainians, even if they don't realize it themselves yet, but in fact it is with the patriarchate of Moscow. And when you look at the Muscovite history, you see very often moments that actually are characterizing the culture, where it's not the son that kills the father, but the father kills the son. Very remarkable is the way that Ivan the Terrible, he murdered his son. Peter the Great tortured to death and killed his own son. And also Stalin let his son be killed by the Germans. He didn't care at all about him. He could have saved him, but he didn't. This is also a caricature of what real patriarchy means. The father who is so jealous of his son that he doesn't let him live. And I would say that's the underlying spiritual deviation, if you like, of the Moscow patriarchate. Exactly the opposite of the West. The West kills the father. The Muscovite East, it's the father who kills the son. And then the third place is Iran, the revolt of the women. And actually, if you look at it, the Iran patriarchate, if you like, it doesn't have a son. It doesn't even have a daughter. It is sterile. It wants to rule on its own, without reason, but especially without life. It rejects womanhood. So that's like three ways in way sin affects fatherhood. When the son kills the father, when the father is jealous of his son and doesn't want him to grow, or when the father rejects the woman and doesn't want to be fruitful at all, and denies that the fruitfulness in creation reveals something of the eternal God who is Trinity. So despite all that suffering, all the killing going on, killing of women who want to be women, killing of sons who are considered to be cannon fodder, and not to forget the secret services of Russia, who have always tried to prevent any responsible fatherhood growing in their realm, in their church. And, of course, our own Western civilization, where the son doesn't want to recognize the father as source of life, where unborn children are killed in the womb. The difference is not that it happens more in the West than elsewhere, but in the West, this killing of unborn babies is being justified. There's a whole ideology behind it. And I would say today, because the ideology is running out of steam, it's becoming a cult. It's a religion. Abortion has become the sacrifice of a new, I would say, demonic religion. That's the West. Where, because there is no more fatherhood, the newest generations have no idea what a principle is, what unchanging truth is, what purposeful life means. Although I even see amongst those young people a lot of good signs that they're fighting for truth. All over the place, I see signs that humanity cries out, not just for a savior, but also for a savior that tells us already, a savior who tells us already about the Father with whom we shall be reconciliated.